Overbooked from Jumbo Games is a game about seating passengers on your aeroplane in the most efficient way to score points. It's in a similar style to Reef and Azul, but manages to be a little bit different and have a theme. In the game, you will choose a card from this row. If you choose the one nearest the plane entrance, you will get it for free. And cards have the luggage of the passengers and potentially a special power or a seating preference. So if I want this last card here, I have to put a meal voucher on each one, and then I take it down to my plane and I seat the passengers on my plane either side of the aisle. I can rotate it any direction, but I cannot mirror image it. So here we have me placing later on in the game. I've placed over someone, they become overbooked and go onto my steps, and that will score me negative points at the end. Points are scored for various configurations. You get points for leftover meal vouchers, but also for seating passengers how they like. Blue rugby players, yellow friends and green old people like to sit in big groups, red lovers like to sit just next to each other, and children have to be surrounded, as in real life.
Hello, it's Nick from Board Deck and Dice doing a review for Zatu. Today we are looking at Overbooked, which you will have just seen the brief overview of how the game works. Going into Overbooked, I did not know what to expect. It's not a game that I'd heard of. I liked the cover, I liked the theme of seating passengers for an airline, the first thing you kind of see is this totally unnecessary first player marker that you have to build out of cardboard. It's the airport tower, which you have to deconstruct every time, and since the first game I've just not used it because it's too much of a pain. That is one of the main negatives of the game actually. The game is really fun. It reminds me a little bit of the kind of Azul Reef line of games where you're sort of drafting a card, but if you want one further down the line you have to pay, but then people can get those back. And then you're placing things out to certain rules, trying to meet those criteria of matching the groups that like to sit together, the children who need to be surrounded by adults, and the lovers who have to sit in twos but not threes. Interestingly, they can sit behind and in front of each other and still count as lovers. So best not think about that too much really. What I also like about the game is the card that you pick up is not limited by the spaces you filled. So you can quite willing and knowingly fill in something that doesn't work out well for you at the start, knowing that there's a chance you'll be able to replace those seats later on. Yes, you're going to get minus points for each passenger you've overbooked, hence the title. But that is just a real nice freedom that lends an extra kind of depth to the thought process that goes into how to place these passengers. I ignored the simple mode. I just played with the card powers on straight away as well, and that really adds to it. I think without that the game would be a little bit not underwhelming, a little bit perhaps boring after a few plays, but those powers keep it fresh. You've got an extra decision to make, and that plays into the game really well. You have the two different plane layouts depending on the player counts, and yeah, it's just a really nice game. Obviously it doesn't have the component wow of Azul or Reef, but I just enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed kind of looking down at my plane, deciding how I was going to seat my passengers. Now, there's not a load of player interaction. The best you can do is kind of choose a card that someone else wanted, but because of the freedom of placement, that's not going to be a huge issue for them. There's no real messing with the other people's planes, kicking passengers off their planes, stealing them onto your planes, which could have worked really well and really thematically. You offer them a better deal, a better seat, you know, a cheaper seat. There could have been some stuff added on there. But as it is, there is a nice layer of depth with the puzzle of filling up your plane in the most efficient way and which passengers to risk overbooking so that you can get more points. Do I prefer it to Azul and Reef? I think I can see it fitting into my collection alongside Azul and Reef. It is probably a bit easier to explain than Reef because of the funny placement symbols and scoring symbols in Reef. They can really confuse some people. So this one is definitely more straightforward. 3 of the groups all have the same scoring thing. I guess that felt a little bit lazy. To have 2 groups that wanted to sit all together would have been okay. To have 3, I kind of wish there was something else they needed. I mean, you've got the lovers, which is easy, they just need to be in 2s. Children need to be surrounded by adults. Then the rugby players, old people and friends all need to be in their kind of little group. And maybe if there was some other restriction on that, like you get a bonus point for the rugby team being exactly 11 or 15 as per, I believe, the sport of rugby, depending if you play you know, Unity or League. So I really liked Overbooked. I can see it hitting the table a lot. It's easy to teach. The downsides are the ridiculous first player marker, lack of player interaction. Really, you're completing a solo puzzle to a large degree. Yes, there may be the pain of a card being taken that you really wanted, or one being out that you can't afford, but really it's not a deal breaker, that. But the interaction is on the low side. So if you're looking for something where you're directly in each other's grill, this is not that game. But other than that, I think if you've enjoyed Azul, if you've enjoyed Reef, if you enjoy kind of puzzle-based spatial games, then you're going to find a lot to like in Overbooked. Thanks very much for watching Zatu. Remember to subscribe and like this video, and we will bring you more content as ever on our channel, our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram feeds. See you next time.